6 books recs. 6 book recs. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Court, and today we have a very interesting video planned for you. I will be doing kind of a reverse TBR jar. I'm going to be pulling a prompt out of this mug. It's a cat mug, obviously, another cat mug. And it has a prompt on it where I will be picking a book that I have already read and giving you a recommendation based on the prompt. I made a bunch of prompts. I could do a few episodes of this. You have to let me know if this is something that you enjoy. We're gonna get started. I'm probably gonna choose like 10 or so prompts. We'll see how we do. Maybe less if I have a few books per prompt. I think this will be a lot of fun and it'll let me recommend you some different books that I normally recommend and allow me to talk about books that I don't normally talk about. So that's my plan. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know what you think. And if you have any suggestions for these prompts, what to put in the prompt jar, or suggestions from the prompts we pull for books, comment them below. Also, a big thank you for 300 subscribers. I'm so grateful and happy everyone is here. Thank you so much. I'm so eternally grateful. I love doing this. Please enjoy today's video. Let's get started. We are standing up because I'm gonna have to be grabbing the books that I pull for the prompt. It makes sense. You get it. Let's get started. Prompt 1. A book that was gifted to me. I don't know any off the top of my head, so let me go look and I'll be right back. I have 2 options for gift books. One was a gift for my birthday last year. This is This Wretched Valley. This I got for my birthday last year. Like I said, this is a horror book. This was one of the first horror books I've ever read, and I absolutely loved it. You're following this group of college students who are working on their dissertation. One of them is working on a dissertation about finding new rock formations to climb and study and that of the sort. So they find this valley and 2 rock climbers go with them. He goes and a botanist type major goes who knows the forest and knows the land. Not this specific land, but like that's what she studies, goes. So it's this group of 4 people, and the book starts out with police finding their bodies. It's not a spoiler. It's literally the first sentence of the book. The police are finding their bodies in this valley. And the rest of the book is about what happens to them in this valley. And it is crazy. It is gory. It is some of the best horror book I've ever read. It had me on the edge of my seat like most of the time while I was reading, and I read it super fast and it was so good. I highly recommend this horror book. The next gift book actually has the gift. I'm not going to show it because it has their name, but it has my little Amazon gift receipt in it. And that's A Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. Yes, spooky season just passed, but I highly recommend, if you have not read this, to pick it up. It is peak witchy reading. You follow our main character who goes to this little, like it's a mansion basically, to help teach and train these 3 young witches. But she gets found out on TikTok because the family is like, yeah, you're not faking that, you're a real witch. Come teach our kids to be real witches. She's like, no, I'm not a real witch, actually, thanks. Anyways, they figure it out and she goes. And there is a brooding librarian, and it is peak witchy book. Spooky season time. Highly recommend. This was also a gift. Thank you so much for the people who got me these because I absolutely love them. Let's pick our next prompt. There's so many prompts in there that we can make multiple of these videos. A book you thought you'd love but didn't. Okay. So I put some negative ones in here too. They're not all positive because we discussed the good and the bad here. This is one of them. A book you thought you'd love but didn't. I'll be back with those books. The two books I have here, I wouldn't say that I don't like them. They just didn't live up to my expectations. I enjoyed them for what they were, but I didn't love them like I thought that I would, and I probably would never read them again. And funnily enough, they're both arcs that I have. The first one is Dead to Rights by Jasmine Webb. I thought this was going to be such a fun, little, cute time. Not romance, mystery set on a coast in England. She inherits her dad's bookshop and house, and somebody ends up dead in this bookstore. She works together with her grandmother to figure out who basically killed the man in the bookstore so they don't blame her because she's new to town. I thought this was going to be so cute, and it was. It was a cozy mystery, that's what it was, but it gave nothing. I wanted it to give more. It's fairly short, but it was drawn out. Again, I liked it for what it was, but I thought I was going to like it a lot more. Similarly, we have Gifted and Talented by Olivia Blake. I haven't read a lot of Olivia Blake's books, but every one that I have picked up, I have a love-hate relationship with. I remember the story really well, and I liked the story and I liked the premise, but the execution confused me. And I don't know if that just means that I'm not smart enough to read Olivia Blake books. Possibly. Like, it could be a me thing, honey. This is supposed to be dark academia. Not even dark academia, but like family drama. These gifted kids are on an inheritance battle because their dad and CEO of this big company just died. It sounds so good. It's very long. It's very repetitive in my opinion. And I was confused. But I could tell you about the book. And that's what makes me so confused about Olivia Blake's books, because I could tell you what I read with vivid detail and spoil the book for you, but I'm still confused how we got from the beginning to the end. And that makes me not love the book and my time spent reading it, because I'm confused and lost. Gifted and Talented by Olivia Blake. It was good for what it was, but I thought I was going to love it because of the drama and because of like the gifted and talented like play on words, because of the gifted and talented kids. You get it. I didn't. Let's do another prompt. A book I finished in a day. I have a few of these, so let's discuss. I personally talk about how I read One Dark Window in a day all the time. You may be thinking that's what I'm going to talk about. Wrong. You're wrong. Huh, did I just mention it? Yeah, I did, but that's not the books I pulled. I pulled these. These books I don't talk about nearly enough for them being my favorite books from my middle school, like preteen, early high school years. I don't talk about these books nearly enough. I've literally had both of these since 2013. Before, I got both of them at a book fair, if that tells you anything. This copy is so well loved. I've read it multiple times, read both of these in a day, and I continue to reread both of these in a day because they're that good. The first one we have is The Raft by S.A. Bodine. I cannot tell you much about this book because I have read it so many times without spoiling the entire premise and plot and big plot twist ending that this book has. So I'm going to read you the back of the book so I don't spoil anything. Robbie is an experienced traveler. She's taken the flight from Honolulu to Midway Atoll, a group of Pacific islands where her parents live. Many times, when she has to get to Midway in a hurry after a visit with her aunt in Hawaii, she gets on the next cargo flight at the last minute. She knows the pilot, but on this flight there is a new co-pilot named Max. All systems are go until a storm hits during the flight. The only passenger, Robbie, doesn't panic until the engine suddenly cuts out and Max shouts at her to put on a life jacket. And she sees him struggle with a raft. And then she's in the water, fighting for her life. Max pulls her onto the raft, and that's when the real terror begins. They have no water. Their only food is a bag of Skittles. There are sharks. There is an island, but there's no sign of help on the way. This book has me in a chokehold. I think about the ending of this book every single day. It's the craziest book I've probably ever read that's a mystery book, thriller book, if you will. And I literally read it for the first time at 13 and it still hits to this day. Yeah, go read it. The second book is a romance book and it is I Heart You, You Haunt Me. You follow our main character who just lost her boyfriend until he starts to haunt her. This book is if the movie Just Like Heaven were a book. Hope that helps. It's also written in verse, which makes it super fast and easy to read. That's why I read it in a day, even though it's kind of long. And this has my 13-year-old heart still in a chokehold. Always will. I love this book. 13-year-old Courtney and those two books are like this. You can't say anything bad about those two books to me because I won't hear it, won't see it. I don't care. Those are some of the best books I've ever read. What is this, number 4? We can just keep going. I'm having lots of fun talking about books. Pretty much everything on my shelf. Like, I can just point and one will have made me cry. Right. Let's find some unique ones. Let's try. Okay, I didn't plan on picking 2 books for each prompt, but that's just the way it's going, so we're gonna keep doing it like that. The first book for this prompt is You with a View by Jessica Joyce. This book follows this girl who finds an old picture of her grandmother and this man, and she realizes that this man is not her grandfather, and so she puts a TikTok up and is like, does anybody know this man? And it just so happens to be her arch nemesis from high school's grandfather. So she goes and meets this grandfather of this man, and he tells her about their love story from when they were teenagers and how they had this plan to go on this romantic road trip, like all across the West Coast. So she goes on it with him and his grandfather. So it's called You with a View because they go on this elaborate road trip that they had planned so many years ago. And it is the cutest thing I've ever seen. It deals heavily with grief in a very good way, in a very tolerable way. This book hit me very personally because I had lost my great grandmother and then decided to pick this book up not too long after, and it really hit really hard. But it also helped me in a weird kind of way because it talked about it so well and the emotions felt so real and like I wasn't alone. So I do recommend, and I do think that grief is different for everyone, and I feel like it does discuss that in this book very well. So that's another reason I really liked it, and another reason that it made me cry a lot. But the whole romance thing and the past coming to light and the road trip, it was just so cute. The other book I have is The Two of Us by Taylor Torres. This was one of my favorite books of 2022. This is a second chance romance book where our main character comes back to her hometown to care for her sick dad. Her best friend's brother still lives in the house right next door. However, they didn't really end on the best footing. They used to be like the 3 of them, and none of them really ended on the best footing. So you were just trying to figure out what happened between them, and you watch them come back together. And it is such a beautiful, heartwarming story. And I really need to reread this because it was, again, so representative of every emotion that you feel when caring for somebody so deeply, and I loved every second of it, and it pulled every emotion out of me, including tears. But what's new when I'm reading a romance book? But honestly, this one probably made me sob the hardest that I ever have, so this one deserves to be in this category. But it is so real, and I will never forget this book. I haven't reread it since because it is very painful, but it's also very good. Very, very good. Let's pick another. This will be number 5. Let's hope that it makes a lighter mood. I don't want to cry or think about crying anymore. strong mental health rep, which usually means that I end up crying because I feel so deeply attached to the book. So we have curated. Do I talk about this book a lot? Yes, but it has some of the best mental health rep in a book that I've ever read. It talks a great deal about mental health medication and how finding the right medication for you is a game changer. It also talks about how you should not be ashamed that you take medication. You should not be ashamed about talking about your mental health with your partner or your new partner or somebody that you want to be your partner. You shouldn't be ashamed of it. And it has such a strong rep for our main female character, Emmy, and I love it so much. This follows our two main characters who work in a college museum. Brian is a paleontologist and Emmy is a historian, and they are working together and forced together because of budget cuts to share an office. However, Emmy is very black cat and Ryan is very golden retriever, but strong mental health rep. The other book I have is a strong male main character mental health rep. This deals a lot with PTSD after an accident, especially in sports. I really enjoyed it. It also talks about kind of some familial trauma and things like that on the female main character side. So there's just a lot of mental health representation going on in this book, and it has some of the best quotes. It sets up for a really good hockey found family, in my opinion. It is a college hockey romance book. It's the start of an interconnected standalone series, and I just absolutely love it. Unsteady by Peyton Crane. I think the cover might be different now that it is trad published, but let's pick again. Let's hope for something a little bit more lighter. A thriller that stumped me. Not a lot do. Let's see if I can find some. So the two that I pulled are actually both YA thrillers. Those tend to stump me way more than adult thrillers for some reason. I don't know, but I tend to love a good YA thriller mystery way more than an adult. Couldn't tell you why. The first one we have blew up this summer. We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. The show just came out on Amazon Prime, I think. Haven't yet to watch it because I don't want to spoil it, but there's a lot going on in this book, and it did stump me. My jaw was on the floor for weeks after I read this book. Weeks. And because I don't want to spoil anything, I am going to read the back of the book because I don't want to overgive you information about the book. If anyone asks you how it ends, just lie. We are Sinclairs. We live, at least in the summertime, on a private island off the coast of Massachusetts. Perhaps that is all you need to know. Except that some of us are liars. That's all you get. This book is crazy. I can literally picture what I was doing when I read the plot twist of this book. That's how good it was. Yeah. The second we have is Two Sides to Every Murder by Danielle Valentine. This came out, I believe, last year, and I read it right around the time that it came out, and it was like a summer camp theme book, and I really enjoyed it last summer and had such a good time with it. And it did stump me. I could not guess what was going to happen. Live a lie or die for the truth. Most people's births aren't immortalized in a police report, but Olivia was born during the infamous Camp Lost Lake murders. 17 years later, her life looks pretty perfect, until she discovers the man she calls dad is not her biological father. Now she needs answers about her bloodline, and the only place she knows to look is Camp Lost Lake. Most people don't spend their formative years on the run with an alleged murderer, but Regan did. In the court of public opinion, her mom was found guilty of the deaths at Camp Lost Lake, and both of them have been in hiding ever since. But Regan believes her mother's innocence and is determined to clear her name. Luckily for Olivia and Regan, Camp Lost Lake is finally reopening, providing the perfect opportunity to find some answers. But as they inch closer to the truth, someone is dead set on keeping the past hidden, even if it means committing murder. I believe this is set in a past-present timeline. It is. It has past-present timeline. And it was so good because you would get to something and then it would leave you hanging and then jump back and then you'd have to read a whole chapter. Sometimes people don't like that, but I feel like it just kept the momentum of the book going in this particular book, and I really liked it. So I do recommend both of those. And they both stumped me. This is number 7. We're probably gonna do 2 more. See how we're feeling. I love doing this, but I want to save some for next time if we want to keep doing this. And we'll make a series out of it. Kindle Unlimited read, and then I bought the physical book. I have a lot of these. Shocker. The first book I have is Speechless by Lindsay Lanza. I got this book, I think is an e-arc, and then reread it on Kindle Unlimited, and then bought the physical from her shop. Maybe I did. I love this book. It is a perfect romance. It's indie published. It is about our main character Lucy, who moves to Malibu. Just moves to Malibu and then needs a place to live and starts living with these 4, 5 guys. Think New Girl. Here you go. Read this book. Except one of them is like a famous musician, pianist man who is perfect for Lucy, and she's obsessed with his music. Yeah, I am obsessed with this book. It is roommates, kind of still a slow burn, even though they're roommates, which I really enjoyed. She moves across the country. He's famous-ish. She's a fan, and it gives New Girl vibes. Yeah. And it's set in Malibu during the summer, so I recommend reading it during the summer, but I didn't read it during the summer. I think I read it for the first time in like January and absolutely loved it. So do with that what you will, but I do highly recommend reading this book and then reading all of Lindsay's other stuff, because this was where I started. This is her debut, and then I read everything else, all equally as good. The second book I have is a series, because I started the first book, Midnight Repeated, and then as they came out, I continued to buy them because I loved this one so much. These are the movie magic novellas by Danny McLean. They are magical realism type novellas, and they're super short. They kind of center around specific rom-coms, kind of. Like, this has a Groundhog Day trope. There's a You've Got Mail one. Let me just show you all of them. The second one is Not My Love Story. It's set during Valentine's Day. It's super cute. The next one is the You've Got Mail type, A Missing Connection, where they can like telepathically talk to each other even though they don't know who each other are and have never met each other. The third one is It Has to Be You. He is a teacher, I think. Yes, motorcycle riding elementary school teacher, yes. And the last one is The Forces of Love, and they have imaginary friends who can talk to each other, but they don't know their imaginary friends talk to each other, and like they're rooting for each other to be together. And then the epilogue, you see all of the couples back together. They're not really interconnected any other way besides the epilogue of the last one, but they're all set in this magical town called Chance, and they're all magical realism, and they're all just so good and so short, and you can read them so fast, and I highly recommend. And the love story is, for being a novella, feels like you're reading a full-length novel. It's so fleshed out, and they're just so good. There's 6 books recs for you. 6 books recs. 6 book recs. You get it. Go read those. They're perfection. And last, but certainly not least, our last prompt, because I'm getting tired of standing. I'm having so much fun with you guys, but my feet are tired. So we'll keep doing this if you guys like it, but in the next video, because my feet are tired and I worked all day. You guys don't care. Let's get to this prompt. Prince Who Fell First. This is a very specific book prompt. Shout out to my best friend Kirsten for this book prompt. We were discussing them in the car this morning. Okay, so we have Spark of the Everflame. I think he fell first. I was having a trouble finding books for this prompt that were not guitar. I don't want to recommend guitar. If you haven't read guitar, what are you doing? It's like a staple at this point. But I think this is better. Diem is a human healer, and she is sent in her mother's place when her mother goes missing to start healing the king of the descended. That's what they're called, but they're like the fae. I don't think they're technically fae, but they're like the magical beings of this world. They have magical powers and they are like kind of immortal, not in the way that fae are, but you get it. They're called descended. They're different from humans. They have more special abilities and are more powerful. The king of the descended is very ill. DM is tasked with going to heal him and be his healer when her mother goes missing. So she is now going to the castle. This man is there, and he just happens to be the prince, who is like very brooding. Didn't much like her at first, but like can't help but stop getting her out of trouble and like following her around and like telling her what to do and like being by her all the time and like helping her out, and just it's a very, very big slow burn. I don't even think they get together in this book, but like they're gonna get together. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But the sparks were flying, pun intended, in this book between them, and I can't wait to read the next book. It's literally on my TBR cart right there, that yellow book, because this was so good. It's a unique fantasy world. They have unique powers, and the world is so interesting how it's like set up in this world, and I very much enjoy it. And that man can't help but want to save her and get her out of trouble. Big love for him. The next book that we have recommended wise is kind of interesting, because the prince didn't necessarily fall for her first, but he like forced her to go with him and be his queen, his princess. It's Shield of Sparrows. Our main character thinks that her sister is going to end up being the one who is shipped across the sea. She thinks it's her sister that's going to. However, the prince and his people come over and they're like, we want her. So he doesn't necessarily fall first, he just chooses her first. And then she's shipped off across the sea to this other country to forced to be their queen, their princess, without knowing anything that's going on. And her dad wants her to spy for him. It's very good. Start of a series, fantasy, there's monsters, highly recommend. So good. And that is all for our recommendations for this video. I hope you enjoyed. I know I had so much fun doing this. It allowed me to recommend some books that I don't normally recommend. Some you've seen before maybe, but if you liked this, let me know and I'll do another part of this for you guys with the other prompts that I have, because I have so many more. We can just keep going. But thank you again for 300 subscribers. I am so happy that you're here. And if you want to comment anything, let me know. You want to follow me anywhere else on the internet, all my socials are linked in the description below. And I'll hopefully see you guys in my next video real soon. Bye guys.